Hello and welcome to Failure and Analysis. I'm playing Blood Bowl 2 with my Skaven team. This is game 10 against humans. Exciting. It's been a while. Ever ready. Let's see what his stats are. Whoa, that is a lot of games. Like, look at all the movement. But seriously, that is a lot of games. There's Ogre. Break tackle, I have to pay attention to. Look at this thrower. Double movement. He is a thrower too. There's another thrower with nerves and movement. Catcher with sure hands. Jump up, sure feet. Strip ball blitzer, movement blitzer, but he's got a niggle. Alright, 2 subs, 3 rerolls. Whew.
HD comes with a range of new features. See your instruction guide for further details.
Don't be stupid, Jim. Nobody ever read the instructions.
$280K. I gotta do the wizard. Wizard plus rats is just. He's got a lot of mighty blow. Yeah, rats and wizards. Sort of ridiculous. Fez for giggles. Or a couple of babes. A couple of babes might be good. I'm feeling I'm going to get more KOs here than casualties, but I have an Apo, so let's see if that'll cover me.
I know I have. Now let's play.
Ooh, he's got the magic dome, too. I gotta start thinking about my upgrade. What's good with Skaven? What's a good... I should have received. Alright, let's not put my kicker on the line this time. Like that. I don't think I should put my rat over there either. Does he have any tackle? He doesn't. He's got no tackle. Seems like I got a lot of inducements. I'm still trying to figure out where his points are. I guess all that movement adds up. Still thinking about that stadium enhancement. What should it be? Woo kick. That's my favorite. Do a short one.
Hey, Jim. How many halflings does it take to change a candle in a lantern?
A bribe for everyone. A bribe for all. 2 bribes in every pot, 1 bribe in every garage. Might have that backwards. What's up? Oh, of course. That babe decision. Ooh, he leveled. We've got a survivor. So far. Yeah, I do the same. What game was I playing? I was watching a streamer pretty frequently, and he would play games. He sucked me back into Mordheim. He played it for a little bit. Filthy Robot is the streamer. I host him sometimes, or auto-host him. But he plays a lot of strategy games. He's been into Magic lately, which I have no interest in, but I've done that game to death back in the day. So, but yeah, he played a lot of Mordheim, and I had played it a lot, but he sucked me back into it for sure. It's just so fun to share the experience, you know, like when you play a game all by yourself and you don't know anyone that's playing it, or you know, you're not reading forums constantly, which is the most difficult way to sort of connect with others playing. Then it's just not as fun. It's still fun if you like the game, but not as fun. So watching a streamer play a game, or you know, chatting with friends about what you're doing versus what they're doing, especially when the strategies are so varied, just enhances the experience so much. I love it. Oh, another one was Europa Universalis. I was watching people play that, and they were playing Scotland and trying to break free from English yoke. And I was trying to recreate the success they were having. Probably failed like 10 times before I got to a point where I actually pulled it off. What should I hit here? I have no guard. I have no guard. He has so much. I should have left my sidestepper on the other side. Makes it harder for him to switch or think about switching. And I can leave him alone. He doesn't have to be... Woohoo! Dope. Hey Zayas TV, how you doing? Strip ball blitzer? Yeah. So he's made, you know, there's a few things in his mix here that make me think that he's like a sort of a mid-range player. Strip ball is one of them on a blitzer. You know, having this guy be an actual thrower with block or with accurate and safe throw, it looks like. And then yeah, Nerves of Steel, Sure Hands Catch, you know, like just lots of little things that I used to do, right? Like things that I feel like I've sort of evolved past. But he's got a ton of games, so he is putting in the time. He's left himself, like, this is great, like giving himself options to go either way and being flexible. He's a very fast human team, so yeah, like that. This guy's amazing. I'm not sure about accurate either. Accurate's fine, like, because there are a lot of times where you have to do that desperation pass. But yeah, safe throw. You know, it's the classic problem of, do you really want to devote 2 skills to something to desperation plays? Because he's so fast too that, like, he's just a great runner. You know, like he can just run it in most of the time. So yeah, 1 or 2 turns, right? He's just got a lot of movement 8, doesn't he?
Those players are running each other. Too much of a problem.
Absolutely not, sir. I stood on the line of scrimmage and my victim...
Stunned my...
What
a dirty rat.
If the player is pushed, it will finish in the public. Fans are much more dangerous than players.
Dope. And a stun. You can punch through here. If he wants. Ooh, 3 dice.
That's a dangerous place to be.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm like... I'm like just above that. Like, I would say the only reason I'm not still in that category is because of how many streamers I've watched and how much research I've done on the game over the years. It's because it's really difficult to get from mid-range to the next level without, you know, just trying to figure it out yourself. Like this guy, I don't know how much access he has to just discussing the game and why some of these things might be suboptimal choices. Because certainly your opponent, you know, in chat isn't going to tell you, and if he does, it's probably just going to sound rude and it's going to anger you, right? So, yeah, you have to research and okay, this time I'm going to... Yeah, so it's difficult. It can be very difficult to get to that next level. It doesn't really happen naturally, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
On the edge of the pit, within grasping range of the fence.
Ooh. I made it. Oh, sorry to hear, new kid. Your tree man died. Was he a block tree man?
That's a solid formation. I want to see the opposing team have a go at the ball now.
Oopsie. Oopsie.
That guy was number
6 dice, man. So rough. 9 dice. There it is. Oh! Tough loss. Very nice, Cactus. Very nice. Depends on if he was pitch cleared or not. Woo, bonehead.
And, standing there, drooling.
2 out. Yeah, that one was rough. That one was rough, Zayats. Ooh.
You need to be close. So close that you can smell your breath and see the dead insects in your
Oh, I like that a lot. I like that a lot.
That's why I love this game.
Oh wow, did he just take it? Wow, he just took it. Interesting. Oh, sorry, new kids. I don't have the extra arms bot running. Yeah, actually, that's a good point, Cactus. Congrats on the win. The wins are sometimes worth more than the tree men. Very nice. I could have fireballed this last turn. Hey Stu, how you doing? Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. It's impressing all the human teams out there, I have to say. Oh man. It's time to base. Time to base. That's a lot of choices. On your war dancers, is first level? Oh, on your strip baller. Okay, so he has strip ball and that's it? I'd say tackle is probably your next.
Jim. We lost, if I remember right. We lost the ball, but anyway. Couldn't find it under a big pile of corpses.
I could get in here, potentially. That throwing play is dangerous, though. Blitzer? Oh, he'll be back though. He'll be back. So yeah, I can get a 1-die here with strip. I'll be a sure hands. Oh, still get in with wrestle. And potentially grab the ball. Or I can just keep playing conservative and let him come to me. Bit of a hole here, though. Oh, lucky me. Lucky me. Yeah, I question that one too, Simon. I'm not real sure. He's playing favorites. They must be named after people he likes, and he just couldn't let that guy. Or that maybe he didn't like that other guy, I don't know. I need to get someone behind him though here. But I'm low on dudes covering the front. No. Oh dear. Oof. Checks quest cheddar. Down for the count. How you doing, Taylor Bear? Doing well. How are you? Oh no. He's sounds like he's going for the jugular, new kid. Oh wow. Oh geez, nicely done, Taylor Bear. The wins. The wins. Alright, so I'm gonna wizard here. That'll do. I did indeed. I got most of them cut. That's what it always looks like, right? Can you smell it? Can you smell the lice shampoo? Is that why you're saying that? I want a wrestler to pick it up. Goodness. Goodness gracious. Oh jeez, okay, it's just straight powing. Just straight powing. That is the right way to do it.
That Skaven moves like a round strip.
Now that's wonderful.
Get that 3+ pickup. No. No. No.
This happy is at the changing rooms.
Oh no, that's the wrong way. There we go. That's better. Yeah. I mean, usually you're playing for 20, 25 games. And so you gotta figure you're gonna take at least one just total dicing, total beating. At least one. And yeah. It is such a tease when you're off to a great start. He is cruel, for sure, the Nuffle.
This is going to be decisive.
Ooh, got the pow. Oh, that was just a line rat. Just a line rat. No, mellow gold. Wow, he's out. He's out. I'm down a man. At least.
Well, at least they're not.
Let's see if he can salvage this. Might be able to. At least keep me from scoring. I like it. I like it. Oof. 1100.
So close.
950? How many guesses do I get?
The bigger they are, the bigger they tend to be.
No, you're not supposed to bring more guys. 760, wow. That is some ouchies for sure. So this is always the tough part. Knock him down and he can't score. Well, that was no good. Oh, he can score because he has to jump up, so I just kind of need to mark him, I think. Make it difficult. Just need a push here. That'll do. Got a push plus. plus. Now if I can one die him onto the ball, get a good scatter. Ooh. Yeah, do I go for the 2, the 4 plus? Or risk the scatter? He has a lot of sure hands. Let's play risky. Still 2 dice. Or still 4 plus. Alright, here we go. 4 plus. Oh yeah.
Taking the ball from right under the opposing team's nose.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Those vermin are fast.
That's officially a beating. Dun, 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 dun. Da, 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 da. He's in. Run 52 with the legs. He legged it. Total rat. Oops. He could potentially surf me here. Oh, no, he knocked me down. Don't you dare. No! Sometimes the cost is high. Oh. Another rat. Oof. Another rat. Ugh, got my whole team hit. Look at that. Ouch. Do I have a reroll? I do. Let's see if I can pow you.
Takes a skillful player and a stab on the
Woot! He's in. Hey, Rat Ogre's back. Yeah, so there's a little bit of a giveaway there. I don't know if you guys know that, but if you see them running towards the locker room and they were KO'd, you know that they make their KO roll. It's hard to see with most pieces, but the big guys and whatnot. Getting them both back was huge. So I'm only down 1. Oh no, I'm down my kicker. Oh, I'm receiving anyway. Yeah, it's a nice little suspenseful moment. See him when they're running. Is he there? Is he there? Is he there? Count your mummies. Are they there? Count your Tomb Guardians or whatever it is. So he's full strength. I'm down 1, but I get the ball. So, ooh, he's going heavy on the line. I don't blame him. guard. Yoicks. Jinkies. Scoob. I can score quickly though, because I'm up 1-0. You'd be hard pressed to find. Oh man, how you doing, Casman? Yeah, this was my worst matchup. Like, I'd rather play against lizards than Skaven with my humans back when I was playing them a ton. Just for some reason, I could not manage them at all. Not for some reason. It's an amazing team that punishes you for any failure. And that 1 in 9 is always lurking, so... If I get a quick snap, I can surf. And if he gets a blitz, he gets hit my mighty blow. That's cool. Yeah, he is probably sick of Skaven. Oh boy. Oh boy. So 3 of mine and 4 of his? No, 3 of his. Interesting.
In a fight between you and Morgan Flow.
Contractually, I'm not allowed to say, Joe. Suffice to say that the matter has been settled.
But where do I go now?
Yeah, smells like a good old-fashioned fight. Nothing must be holding that.
Well done. And have the ball now.
Yeah, that's very true, Taylor Bear. No! So mean. You got a haircut. Just a little off the top of the team. Typical Woodies. That's so true. Yeah. Had both arms and one leg cut off, but I still won. Just made it a little challenging is all. Just a flesh wound. They can still bite. They can still bite. Don't hit my rats.
Gone into the opponent's tackle zone. That should be good.
Unity is strength.
Oh, he's going to go for the 4+ dodge. CCL stands for Cabal Vision Champions Ladder. It's basically the league that I'm playing in. They're official ranked sort of thing with the seasons and all that. You have 2 choices, open and this. Oh, and there's Anarchy also, I guess I should. That's the one with the weird teams. There you go. So open, there's no season, so it's just perpetual. That's one difference. There's unlimited concedes in open as well. How you doing, Velhapia? And so people have had their teams around forever. They quit as soon as anything's going wrong, usually. What is this? Oh, alright. And you also do frequently run into like curated teams, right? Teams that have just played so much that they get to like this, you know, more perfect point. Like with win trades and stuff. Sometimes people multi-box and they'll play against each other by joining the queue at the same time, and they'll just let the other team farm SPPs. And so a lot of weird shenanigans stuff goes on. To make it a strange environment.
There's 2 big guys. It's always good.
Those are a few of the differences. Pixel huggers, yeah. Yeah. Good morning. Oh, it does have seasons. Okay. Okay. Are they longer, Velhapia, than the other seasons? There you go, Jahanian. How you doing? Yeah, that's not a bad. That's not a bad approach to open ladder. Letting off steam.
The strength of a bear.
Yeah, and veteran teams can join the open ladder, exactly. So you can farm them up wherever and have them join the open ladder. So that's one benefit to the open ladder, is that if you fell in love with a team from a season in CCL and want to keep playing them, you can carry on in the open ladder. So that's yeah, one of the big things. Okay, it has the same cycle. Okay, I couldn't remember how long the seasons were in CCL. I thought they were 5 or 6 weeks, but I guess 6 weeks is a month and a half. So. The perfect Nurgle team. I'd like to see what that is.
I think he's moving.
Right, you just can rejoin. Always over boneheaded. So nice. So nice.
Sometimes these animals like this forget the sport.
That's too close.
They're gathering around that little planet, like halflings round a sandwich.
Oh, that is a pretty good team, Janie. That is a pretty good. I'll bet.
Safety in numbers. I think that's the beam here.
Oh no. Good old loner. Good old loner.
This bear likes to be well assisted.
Yeah, I go back and forth on the try-harding, as it were. Sometimes, some seasons I get really into it. Others I'm like, I'll just play for fun. A lot of times, I think the way it shakes out for me is I'll play a team for fun, and then if they get 6 wins in a row at the start and they're developing well, I'll be like, okay, let's actually see where I can take this team. But if they, lose 5 positionals in the first 5 games, which is what my standard has been of late, then I don't really sweat it. Yeah, it's funny, Jahanian, that how many people are into Amazons this season. Like last season, I qualified with them, and there didn't seem didn't seem like people had figured out that Amazons, have that sweet spot. Now everyone's in on it. Oh, sorry. If you, on your phone, I don't think you can see my bio below the stream. How you doing, Volpus? But I was one of the original 3 game designers on World of Warcraft, and was at the company on that team until almost Cataclysm's release. So we're gonna do a little Reddit AMA with a friend who's writing the WoW Diary. WoWdiary.com. We put up a Kickstarter for a book that talks about a lot of the stuff that went into making the game. He's a level designer, did the dungeons, interior level designer as we call them. And I did a lot of the game design, so we'll be doing a Reddit AMA. It's on Reddit/WoW this Friday. So yeah, it'll be fun to reminisce. It was definitely, obviously, a very successful project, but it was a very interesting project as well. Did I just totally forget about? I've totally forgot about you, Ariak. You've been stunned since the pitch invasion. I apologize profusely. In that guy's face. So I'll just go over here. I think I'll just score this turn. It seems like I'm gonna take a beating if I don't. So ouch, Captain Blood. Yeah. Sometimes you just get those players. Orca Cole, you must be further down in the division, starting new. Or newish. But, yeah, you'll probably bounce out of that pretty quick. Yeah, NOS seems like a real strange choice. Oh, thanks for copying that, Taylor Bear. Appreciate it. Ha, famous. Yeah, it's funny, like, despite my very heavy involvement in that game, one of the intentional sort of philosophies at Blizzard, and you see this in all their games. Every time you see the credits, it says game designed by Blizzard Entertainment, right? It does not list out you know, specifically, you know, who is and what their pecking order is typically. And that was done intentionally because, you know, back in the day there were a lot of high-profile people making games, and their names were always at the top, and they sort of became these personalities in the industry, right? And so that their job then changed from being game designers to like being PR conduits for the company, right? And it took them away from actually sitting down and designing games, right? So in a lot of ways, you got to this place where you were known for something, and then you couldn't do it anymore. And this was back in the day before like things changed and community, you know, involvement with game developers was so much more prevalent than like it is now. So we wanted to protect the developers from that sort of thing so they could concentrate on the job of making games and let PR handle PR, right? So did I put all my kickers out? So the end result is like nobody on that team, or so few people on that team that contributed major things, are actually famous, right? Like, you don't know my name, right? Like, when you think who made WoW, like it's hard to say. Whereas every other game, you kind of can pick a guy and go, okay, that's the guy responsible for that. But so you know, very intelligent. I still totally agree with this philosophy. But yeah, the side effect is nobody ends up knowing your name, which for me is fine because I've never been out to really seek, you know, the fame. That's not why I did it. That's not what I'm really interested in. So I get to have a personal life, which is nice. But oh yeah, you do know my name. It's Ondabal. So yeah, it's definitely interesting, you know, to like, you know, talk to people about WoW, and it's always this shock, like, what did you do, you know? Oh wow, you know, like, no pun intended, but I am the guy who plays Blood Bowl and got lice. Do I still game design? Not for a couple of years. My last project was Tyranny at Obsidian. I worked on Tyranny. But yeah, I've been out of game design for a couple of years in an official capacity. So no, I don't have lice. Taylor Bear, stop spreading vile rumors. It's just a short haircut, I swear. Yeah, Captain Blood. It does get much more challenging. I'll tell you that about Orga-Cola. You like the original, the griefy part of Polymorph? Yeah, I bet. Yeah, Sid Meier, classic. He's actually an amazing both designer and human being, right? Like some of the other guys that are well known, you know, in the industry they let it go to their heads, you know, a little bit. So, hey, Generic Man, thank you very much for the follow. Really appreciate it. Welcome to the channel. But, yeah, so not everyone is like, oh, that's deep. Shotgun. But Sid Meier is not one of those people. He is very humble, very committed. And it's so funny because, like, aside from like American McGee's Alice or whatever, like very few developers have their name in the name of the series, right? And he doesn't even hunt it anymore, right? But it just stuck, and you would think he is the biggest egomaniac because it's one of the few popular series with a name on it, but he's actually not at all. Like, somebody put it on there, probably just to tease him, and it stuck. But honestly, don't even care if he scores, right? Like, I probably should, but I'll hit a dude. Guess I could have surfed that catcher. That would have been fun. But yeah, pretty interesting about him. He's the man. He really is. I don't know Todd Howard. Haha, can't hurt me. You can hurt him though. Ouch. Oh, I guess I have 4 rerolls. Unnecessary. Yeah, it's a bellhop. It didn't. Not everyone, like, unless you're a Blood Bowl player, you can't really understand playing a game for 20 years, right? But, yeah, like, it was a life, you know, it was a lifestyle. And so, like, we always joked about when we stopped playing WoW. Oh yeah, I stopped playing WoW, it was great, I got 3 hobbies back, you know, like, that's the commitment level in the early days that you had with that game. And I remember one night, because, you know, we used to work on it all day and go home and play it, like, that's how crazy, right? Like, we were into this thing. And, you know, you have your regular group and you go home and play. And I remember I took the night off to go out to the movies with my friends and didn't play any WoW. This was one night, and I went in the next day to work, and I had, in 4 different situations in the hallways with people asked me, so did you quit? And I was just like, wow, like, I took one night off, you know, like, to do another awesome thing, right? Like, but yeah, that was like sort of the commitment level expectation. And it, you know, just madness, right? So it becomes this lifestyle, right? Like, if you're really into it, and some people just can't or don't want to, you know, do that. And obviously, you know, I was a lot younger then, didn't have my kids, and so I was a little more free to dispose of my time in that way, and had a blast, you know, lots of great memories. But yeah, it's a whole thing. I guess I could have tried to score with a. Can you make it? Sure. Get in there. How far does he have to go? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, one more. Gosh, here we go. What did I fight to keep in the game? I did not agree. So there are some very controversial things, right? And the game has changed quite a bit. But here are some of the things I argued against, and you guys might think I'm totally crazy. I argued against paladins and shamans going to the opposite side, right? Because when the game started, Alliance had paladins, Horde had shaman, and it was very unique, and they had different mechanics, and they brought a lot of the same things, but not all of the same things, as far in terms of buffs and, you know, stuff like that. And there was constant pressure saying, like, oh, Alliance is much harder to, or much easier to raid with than Horde, and yada yada yada. So there was a lot of pressure on us all the time, right? But I felt it gave, you know, the two sides a different feel, and also the math didn't necessarily support the arguments that people felt But anyway, that was one of the things I fought to keep in the game that changed. Another big thing was I argued against cross-realm grouping, like the looking for group and looking for raid like thing being cross-server. I worried that it was going to make the game extremely antisocial, which I think kind of came true. Because... Sorry, one more turn here. Because you jumped into a group of people that you had no connection with because they were all over the place as far as servers, and so there was no reason to interact with them. You were probably never going to see them again because there were 12.5 million players playing the game, and you also wouldn't. There were also no consequences for you misbehaving, so you could misbehave to your heart's content, and there were no ramifications, right? And so that's what people did. Like, people misbehaved on normal server things too, but there were consequences. People stopped grouping with you, right? Like, it didn't always happen, but it happened enough that people were generally trying to be nice because they knew down the road they were going to need other people to do things. So, and so I felt like it was going to add problems. The technology was so hard to argue against, so everyone was just like, but you'll be able to find a group anytime, anywhere, any day, you know, like, and that was certainly really important, but the cost was too high in my opinion, but it went in anyway, and I was sad about that, but, and it did, it made a great change in terms of, you know, people could find groups much easier, and all that. So, and the technology was just really powerful. No other game in the market was doing it. So yeah, it was an exciting time in that respect. But yeah, I was sort of alone in that, and my influence at the company had started to wane by that point. So it was difficult to make. It was difficult for me to convince people. About this, you know, the potential side effects, right? So those are a couple things. What am I most proud of? Like, on a personal note, probably the talent system. I designed the talent system, and you know, there were obviously other games had systems that were similar, like Diablo 2 had the trees, you know, and stuff like that. But there was something unique about the WoW talents. And the goal of it was to make it so that if you were a warrior and the guy next to you was a warrior, you could differentiate yourself from him by how you placed your talents. And so there were 3 trees and lots of options even within a single tree to do different things. And so, you know, it became part of your identity. And so it crushed in that respect. And after WoW came out, now I look back on it and all I see are its flaws. Like, it was not scalable, very scalable. It didn't age well with expansions and whatnot. And also had just lots of little other problems. But the system itself I thought was very good, especially for vanilla WoW. And I also noticed, I took pride in the fact that it also became sort of industry standard. Like, every game that was coming out after WoW had a talent trees. It was like, it didn't matter if it was a shooter or an RTS or a MOBA or, you know, single player RPG, of course, you know, like, just didn't matter. Everyone was putting the talent tree system into the game. And it was just like salt and pepper, like, oh, it just adds value, you know, like, add talents, and it adds value. I remember sitting in a room with Obsidian, and people didn't really know, again, part of the I'm not famous thing, and they were talking about how great the talent tree system was, and how, you know, the guy went on for like 30 minutes not really knowing what my background was about how great the talent system is and how we had to have it added to the game I was working on, which was Armored Warfare at the time. And I'm just sitting there like, oh, that's interesting. Right? Like, it was just so funny. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of the talent system. It did well for its time. Nowadays, it's like, you know, it's so hard too to tell people, because now I see all the flaws in it, and it's so hard to tell people like, no, we shouldn't do a talent system for these reasons because here are the flaws in the system, and they're just like, no, I don't buy it. You know, it's still too good. You're arguing against your own design. It's really funny, but yeah, that's probably one of the things I'm most proud of. Just getting the game to market though, like, is another just massive accomplishment. Like, there's probably 100 different places that you can mess up in an MMO, right? Whereas most game has like 10 major decisions that if you screw it up, like, the game's not going to do well. But because all the systems are sort of interconnected, the chance that you screw up one thing and it just cascades into damaging the whole game is pretty massive. And there's probably 100 different, because there's so many systems, there's probably 100 different times during the process that you can mess up badly. And so having not messed up badly in any of those decisions, getting it to market and, you know, surviving that process, I'm pretty proud of too. Because there were hundreds of MMOs in development back when we were making the game. Like, everyone wanted to get in on EverQuest's money. We weren't the only one. And so many people wrote us off because we were an RTS company, right? According to people, it was like, oh, Blizzard's RTS, what do they know about massively multiplayer? They're either going to mess it up by making it like Diablo with 1,000 people on the screen, which is a totally different thing, or they're just not going to know how to do it. And so they sort of wrote us off and said, you know, leave it to the big boys, you know, leave it to the adults to make them an MMO. Like, you guys are out of your depth. And there were hundreds of other, you know, MMOs in production, and so many of them failed at one of those 100 hurdles, you know, that you have to get over, and made bad decisions that just wreck things. And so a lot didn't make it to market. They're also super expensive to make, so that's another reason. But a lot of them just failed right out the gate, you know, like, just, and it doesn't take much. It does not take much to fail at an endeavor like that. So getting across the finish line was also just a massive undertaking, and we managed. And not only did we manage, it was also massively successful. So that was pretty good. Is Sid involved much in game design anymore? I don't think so. Like, the brand sticks and will stick probably for the lifetime of the game. But yeah, I don't know if he's even actively involved in the company very much. His son actually works at Blizzard. He's, I think he's on the WoW team. He interned with us a long time ago, back when I was there, which seems like forever now. But so yeah, he's at Blizzard, you know, developing his game, and that's pretty interesting. But yeah, I don't know how much Sid actually does anymore, if anything. I mean, he voiced the tutorial of like Civ. Was it Civ 5, I think? Yeah, but yeah, he probably makes bigger decisions on what to do with branding and stuff like that. But game design, I don't know how much he actually does anymore. Yeah, so you'd be pretty accurate, Bellhopia, with that feeling. Yeah, there are definitely games where you can go all in. Johania, Blood Bowl, and StarCraft are a couple big ones, but yes, it is. It sure is. Yeah, I remember Vulpus. Yeah. And that's on my thing below, too, as one of the greatest games of all time, in my opinion. New Vegas. That's Fallout New Vegas, for people that are wondering. Yeah, they do great work. They're still sort of a diamond in the rough of the game industry, like willing to do games that other people don't, and put the RPG in things that a lot of people aren't, you know. League of Legends, yeah, but not Dota, yeah. You know, you're absolutely right. I should change that to Defense of the Ancients, but I don't want people to think it's Dota 2, because I think Dota 2 was a huge step backwards. not backwards because it grew on Dota, but I consider League of Legends to be a better game than Dota. One of the major things is creep denial, right? Like, creep denial to me is one of those things, and I could go on and on about MOBA design and how unintuitive it is to learn those games, you know? Like, I think we've talked about this a little before, Taylor Bear, but creep design is like that one thing, and for many of the games that came out, you know, whether it was Heroes of New Earth or Dota 2 or Heroes of the Storm or League of Legends, they all kind of fell on one side of the creep denial thing. And to me, that was like, that is the straw, right? Like, for me, it's like, I can stomach some of the unintuitive stuff, you know, like, don't help your buddy because it's just going to give them an extra kill, right? Like, you know, it's like, okay, but killing your own units to prevent them from XPing, like, that to me is it just goes against most of my beliefs in training when it comes to game design. So and that is honestly some of the reason I stepped away from Dota back in the day before these other, you know, League of Legends came out, because I didn't even know about that for the longest time. I was having a blast with Dota. And then I saw some people doing it, and it caught on, and I was just like, oh, I can't participate in this. Like, this just offends me as a game designer. But I wanted to be competitive, and so I had to. And so I was just at this crossroads, and I was like, nope, I have to save my soul, you know? Like, I can't do it. What's the best MMO since WoW? Gosh. What did I like a lot? I thought Guild Wars 2 did some really good things. I caught that one way too late. And so by the time I got in, it just wasn't for new players anymore. And so, like, when I got in, it was just crazy busy with all this stuff happening, and I was just like, okay, this is obviously for people that are re-rolling alts, you know, and playing their fifth character or whatever. It gives them something new to do. But I was just overwhelmed, and I was just like, okay, you guys are doing some good stuff here, but it's just way too busy and crazy for like a new player to enjoy. But I liked some of the stuff they did in that one. I think DDO, like the original Dungeons and Dragons Online, did a lot of really, really smart things. They did some, you know, bad things as well, but that one was, I played a fair bit of that one, and that one was really, it had some things that I still to this day adore. One of which is XP at the end of the dungeon, you know, like, just get through it, and it doesn't matter how, you know, like, use lots of different mechanics, you know, to the best of your ability. Skip camps of, you know, bad guys, and go through the trap area, you know, instead of the main path with all the bad guys. Like, we don't care how you do it, just leverage all of your abilities to get to the end, and then we'll reward you at the end. And I thought that was just amazing. Keeps you from farming useless stuff, you know, like, so I like that a lot, and I still like that idea a lot. EVE Online, I did play it, played it, because they have that skill in EVE Online that makes the XP growth of all your other skills faster, and so you can macro the game, right? And so what I did was I logged in, and I found that skill, and I'm like, well, clearly I want everything else to XP faster, so I'm going to maximize this one. And it took me a month to maximize that one, but I could do it totally offline. So my first month, or free month, or whatever it was just macroing that. And that was my game experience. And by the end, I was just like, well, then I played a little bit, and I was like, I don't really want to macro most of the time. Like, but I love reading the stories. Like, that is the greatest game to me in terms of story creation that I can't actually sit down and play. Like, I really just want to read about. So if there were an easy access way to be a part of that, and of course that's impossible because you have to commit, but the things that go on in that game are mind-blowingly amazing. Like, that game is awesome in scope, and in execution. Everyone who's been a part of any of that stuff is, man, what a treat. Because yeah, but the commitment level on that is even higher than most MMOs. So Captain Blood, no, the Games Workshop rights, no, we did. I think they chatted with them at one point, but a closer one to say, because they were offered a Star Wars game by LucasArts, but LucasArts wanted too much control of the game design, and so they said no, and they ended up making StarCraft, right? So, and then once, and so Blizzard, I think, always wanted to make their own IPs, and would not relinquish game design control. And so, they ended up with best of both worlds. They got to create their own IPs. Obviously very heavily influenced by, other IPs, but... yeah, Twin Spiro. Yeah, those were the MOBAs, like that was what we wanted. We wanted, because I was heavily into MOBAs, at that point, and that's what I wanted. I wanted the entire map to basically be a MOBA with NPCs rushing towards towers and the players running alongside them and influencing the battle, putting pressure on one way or the other. And so Alterac Valley is sort of the realization of that idea. So, and yeah, it was never meant to go for hours, but I've been on that bridge. The one where, yeah, you would go to sleep and come back and you'd be in the same spot of the bridge and it hadn't moved. And some of those guys, you saw them and you were like, oh, you're still here? And he's like, yeah, we've been up all night. I'm like, dude, I went to sleep and I came back. Let's continue. So, yeah, Pillars is great. It's not for everyone. It's old school, right? But I think it dramatically improved that old school feel in a very positive way, despite criticisms that a lot of people that played Baldur's Gate just wanted the same UI and the same clunky, like, old school stuff. And I'm just like, no, you gotta update it, make it modern, right? Because you want more people than the 100 people that still play Baldur's Gate religiously. And it's like, so it took a lot of flack for some of the improvements they made, but I'm all for it, and they did a great job. That's one of the things I've been trying to stream is Pillars 2, and I still intend to, but my system's been crashing on me trying to stream it, so. Yeah, Taylor Bear, I totally agree. The laning stage is, it has an important impact, like, and that's sort of the trade-off, right? And I can totally understand why some people want that. But, yeah, as a game designer, like, yeah, it just offends me, like, but I totally understand it. I totally understand why players want it, like, and that's the thing about competitive play, like, competitive players want mechanics in the game that they can master that are difficult to understand, so that they can master them and most players can't, right? Like, they want something that differentiates them from everyone else who's trying to be competitive, right? And that's totally natural. It's totally human nature, but it's stuff like that's hidden or counterintuitive. That's where I feel like it crosses the line, and that's one of the Blizzard like mottos, right? Is easy to learn, hard to master, right? Like, easy to learn is really important, and part of that is making the game like intuitive, like, and the concept's sort of upfront and in your face, right? So it violates that motto in that it's not intuitive. A lot of people wouldn't even think to do that, like, how is this helping me? Oh, okay, I guess I see it, like, that's still really weird. Like, isn't my objective to destroy their towers and their lanes? And this is really counterproductive towards that goal. So it becomes this really advanced, sort of hidden, and someone has to explain it to you thing, which is against the motto of like how Blizzard games are made. So that's sort of how that was the school of thought I mastered my craft in. And so, Yeah, Guild Wars 2 Herbiak. I thought it did some really great things. I didn't play it to a very high level, but I thought it was also way, way better than Guild Wars 1. Like Guild Wars 1 I had a lot of problems with. So they learned a lot, which I love. I love to see games try to break the things that they felt weren't working, break them apart, put them back together, and grow from that. But yeah, I didn't play a lot of other MMOs simply because when I was playing WoW, when I stopped playing WoW, I was so desperate for other types of games. I mentioned this in a previous stream. Like, I wanted to play single-player games for once, where the story revolved around me. So it was difficult for me. I considered MMO a bad word as far as like when I'm shopping for a game. It's like, oh, it's MMO? Nope, not going to do it. So, and also a lot of the games, like I played Star Wars after I stopped playing WoW, and I was pushing all the different class ability buttons, and they were all basically just rejumbled versions of the stuff that I created. And so it was like, I've already pushed this button 100,000 times in development and in the real game. I don't need to go to another game and push all those same buttons. So it was just like, I can't do it, so I bounced off Star Wars, even though I love the Star Wars universe and IP, and I wanted to like it. They did some fun things in that game too, but I just could not push those buttons anymore, Oh, thank you very much, Johanian, for the follow. Really appreciate it. Yeah, Velhopia, I played a lot of Warhammer Online, and I'm sad that one isn't around anymore, because they did some really, really cool things. That was an ambitious game, and of course one of the greatest IPs out there. But yeah, I liked that game a lot, and I enjoyed it. I liked their PvP system too. Like, it had its flaws, but it was ambitious, and the battlegrounds were super fun, and yeah. Like, all of its problems were mostly just related to, like, quality, like, server architecture, and, like, technically, it wasn't great. A lot of choppiness in the, game, and some of the, systems weren't great, but from a big picture standpoint, those guys really, really tried to set themselves apart, and that's what I loved. So I have mad respect for that game. Okay, that's interesting, Sailor Bear. That's good. Like, yeah, you can tune some of that so that it's not as important, like go get your own creeps. If there's none, maybe you think about denying if you have nothing else better to do, sort of thing. So it reduces the opportunity, I guess. But and that's the other thing people want, is they want really tense, like, and that's one of the greatest things about MOBAs. I described it because somebody asked me, like, the guys that were making Heroes of the Storm, they asked me, what are sort of one of the critical elements of making a MOBA, like from a designs perspective, and I just said simply, like, every step matters, like when you're playing in a competitive game like a MOBA, like one misstep, it's like you get killed, right? It can be that important. So, like, every little decision, can mean so much. So, nice Velhopia mining. Yeah, I was a big crafter and miner too. Like, I enjoyed that quite a bit. Yeah, Taylor Bear Eve is just inaccessible. So, but man, I wish I could have been, like, my first big MMO experience was Ultima Online. Most of the Blizzard guys had played EverQuest. I was like one of the few, if only, like, major voice in the game's design that had come from Ultima Online. So I was always pushing things in a different direction, because I bounced off EverQuest pretty hard after playing Ultima Online. But I played Ultima Online religiously, like 80 hours a week or something, for 3 straight years. Like, there is a gap in my life. Like, if people asked me if I'd ever seen a show and it was in that, I had no idea. A movie, a book, anything else. It was just like, that is what I did. Yeah, after that, I had to sort of balance things, like it was hard. But if Eve had been my first one, like I probably would have been just all in, like. Blizzard made a game with Tyrion, Space Marines, and Eldar. Yeah, they sure did. It was the best game. I don't remember those names as clearly as that, but yeah, it's something like that. Yeah, there might be some similarities. Yeah, Divinity, I like that game a lot. That's another one I think did really well. Like between Pillars and Divinity, it's like real time of pause or turn-based. I'm definitely in the turn-based camp. I bounced off some of the Divinity Original Sin 1, like writing, just because it was sort of tongue-in-cheek, too tongue-in-cheek for me to, like, I love a good pun, but when it's just filled with that kind of stuff, like, I can't take the game seriously, and so I sort of fade out. And some of the mechanics bothered me as well, but on the whole, I consider that game amazing. And I haven't finished Original Sin 2, but I got pretty far into it. It's another one I'll potentially stream in the future, but yeah, love those games, love what those guys are doing, and in 5 years, in 5 or 10 years, I see those guys being like a European version of Obsidian, where they're just at the forefront, they already are, sort of like Obsidian, but I could see them taking the mantle from Obsidian, and just being the studio for those kinds of games, which, is amazing, because European games have been so far behind in some aspects of game design and whatnot, but they're catching up quickly. Yeah, Velhopia, you mentioned it, and I'm just seeing your chat now, but yeah, that's some of the stuff I bounced off in Original Sin, like a little too many, just a few too many, like, references, like culture references, and cookies and secret stuff that's just like, okay, like, I don't know, you have to be really careful with that stuff. The new Star Wars, Jahanian, the MMO, is that the one that you mentioned? Because yeah, I think I've already said, like, I started playing that one and it was all the same buttons, but they were doing some really cool stuff with, like, the personal instancing that I absolutely loved, like, and they had some choice and consequence within that stuff, which I also thought was amazing, right? So yeah, I'm really excited for sort of the next the next major evolution of the MMO. Like, I don't know when it's coming and who's going to do it, but there's so much that I think is possible, and yet but the games are so expensive to make, and you always have to figure, like, are we going to be able to compete with Blizzard or WoW or any of the other ones that are out there? So, hey, Captain Marvelous, how you doing, man? Batmud. Yeah, what mods did I play? I can't remember. But yeah, there have been a lot of interesting mods. Dark Age of Camelot, yeah, I played a ton of that, all 3 sides. Like, that was another game I played a lot of. The PvP was amazing, like the Fort stuff, very ambitious. What did I learn from that game? It's funny because like group sizes, I can't remember what EverQuest was, whether it was 6 or 8 or 10, but Dark Ages was 8. We settled on 5 for a while, and I was a big proponent of that because 8 was just too many. It was like, and the whole idea, the whole argument for this, like, scaled up so well to their PvP experience. It was like, we're gonna have the most epic battles ever, and they delivered, right? It was 100 on 100 in some cases, and it was just like, that idea is cool until you get into the fight, and then you're just like, if you can even manage the frame rate, your individual impact on that battle is just nothing, and so you can't feel like you're actually a participant. You can't feel like a hero at all, right? So yeah, it's just, and so you have to sort of protect, you know, you have to make it feel super epic, but still make it feel like each player is involved and has an impact on the whole and the whole experience or the whole outcome of the battle, and each person can be heroic in a different way. So it's a really tough thing to manage because everyone wants, you know, the giant Lord of the Rings, you know, sort of, you know, movie battles, right? But yeah, it's hard to pull that off, you know, well. Oh, nice. Captain Blood, you are my hero. I played in Shadow Clan in Dark Age of Camelot. Amazing. Great stuff. Yeah. Absolutely amazing. You guys started in UO, and I played with the Dark Elf. There was a little Dark Elf offshoot to the Shadow Clan. I played with that briefly, but I played with Shadow Clan in Dark Age, and it was an amazing experience. So fun. I'll never forget. I was like level 20 something, still, you know, leveling. Max level was 50 if I remember right. And we held a castle, and there was a massive group of people outside, and they were all max level, and we were inside, all speaking this, you know, the language, right? And all very mixed levels. Like, again, I was level 20 something, and it was just like, and we managed to hold this keep against some people that were just irate. They were irate because we were role playing, and some people just cannot handle role playing in their presence. It just drives them berserk for whatever weird reason. But they were also maximum level with, you know, awesome gear, and we looked at these guys out, and you're just like, okay, we're so dead, right? But yeah, we managed to hold it because everyone had their little job, you know, and and I also went up like 12 levels during the siege, right? So I went in there at like 20 something. I ended up at 30 something because the XP, you know, you're just in a group, and your group is killing stuff because they mixed the levels, and every dude was worth so much to me because I was so low level. It was just like ding 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 ding. It was pretty amazing, right? So we were farming them as it turned out, but it was pretty funny. Nice. Everyone's just yeah, they just go to work every day, sit in their cube. Oh, I see. Okay, so you're still doing fun things, but yeah, it's just there's no expectation that you're going to be the hero, right? And that's the first thing you kind of have to accept, right? Like, as a player in an MMO, is that, dude, you're nobody, right? Like, but the game will always try to treat you like the hero. The game will always try to, you know, hey, you're the big deal. You're the reason that this whole planet is spinning, and you're just like, no. Actually, there's a million of us, so nope. Yeah, the sieges were really fun. They could be frustrating as well, but yeah, that game had a lot of really cool things. Needed way better UI. Like, and I, again, mad respect. They put that game out in about 18 months, so for pretty low cost. So good on them. But yeah. The game was rough, you know, like, because of it. The UI was, you know, sloppy, and they had no dungeons, you know, like, they just had those little caves, and, you know, at first, you know, because they're like, oh, wow, dungeons actually take a lot of time to make. So they're like, oh, oops. But, yeah, pretty fun. Yeah, I had some great times thanks to the Shadow Clan, so thank you for any part of it you made or created or facilitated. That was a blast. And the commitment level, like learning how to speak, you know, like staying in character always, you know, like I know that drove a lot of people away, but yeah, it was so worth it. So worth it. Yeah, and they totally improved it. They massively improved the game from launch. added a bunch of new things. The Darkness Falls dungeon was pretty amazing. You know, that sense of PvE combined with PvP that that Warhammer also did. You know, just great. That's what I always wanted to see. I was a huge PvP person from Ultima Online. Right, there we go. Yeah, the progression is just always so weird. Yeah, and it was definitely one of the things that we put a lot of thought into. For WoW, it was like, okay, we have to have a smooth sort of progression in terms of like here you start killing kobolds and you work your way up to, you know, dragons or whatever. And then the other thing we did was we made the bosses always be your level +3 or whatever, so it had just inherent bonuses. So no matter kind of what, even after we expanded, Onyxia was supposed to be extremely deadly, right? But the scaling on everything else was so out of control that people still managed to solo it or whatever. So that was one of the systems we tried to put in to protect that, what you're talking about, where it's just like, come on, this is a world boss or whatever, and it's like a couple expansions later, I'm one-shotting it, you know, right? Because it's just a stupid dragon. Oh, Shadowbane, yeah. I played a lot of that too. I was in the Lords of Death, and I had some fun with them. They're a totally different kind of guild, but man, one of the greatest experiences I had, though. And I came down on the other side because all the roleplay guilds hated Lords of Death, and these guys did not. They did not roleplay at all. So I sampled everything in games, all kinds of different guilds and play styles, and but we were defending a castle in Shadowbane against like 3 of the biggest RP guilds. They were just massive and had all kinds of people out in front, and we were trying to protect our castle. And there was no like, or the army was so large that communication was difficult, right? Like you had to speak in all chat essentially, because there was no Discord and all that stuff, right? And so it was 3 different groups trying to coordinate when to charge, you know. And so we would yell charge from the walls. And so many people would just start rushing the wall, and we'd annihilate them because it wasn't a full-blown charge. It was like 20% of the force would attack, and we'd completely wipe them out. And while the leaders on the other side were like, "Don't charge! Don't charge! Stop! Come back!" You know, and it was just the most hilarious thing ever, right? Like the way you could, you know, pick apart little things like that in games. They were totally social experiences, right? But man, it's one of my fondest memories of that game. That game was such a mess, like technically speaking. I used to crash playing the game, and this crash window would come up, but it wasn't a hard crash. It was just like a soft crash. Like this crash window would come up and says, "You've crashed," you know, and all you do was just kind of move it out of the way and keep playing. And it was like, okay, thanks for that info that I just crashed. And then you also knew you were on a clock. Like within a few minutes, you knew it was gonna finish crashing out. But yeah, pretty amazing. I've never seen that in the game before. Yeah, and that's the big part, is like Shadowbane, you know, definitely in most games struck that perfect balance of like heavy RP, but still totally effective, right? Like you weren't power gaming per se, but there were things about and most of it's just organization, you know, like people that are committed to that level to a thing like Shadowbane are going to follow orders, right? Like, and so if you have good leaders and everyone else just following orders, you're going to be massively over organized, right, when it comes to a fight. Whereas every other guild is full of people that want to be the main man, and they're going to do their own thing, and they're going to question every order, and it's just like, these guys are all over the place doing whatever, you know, and it's just, so the impact, you know, on the battles was massive. I experienced that in Ultima Online because my friends and I, we used to play, you know, 4 or 5 of us in a room of network computers, right? This was, you know, before all the game rooms came out. And the 4 or 5 of us would completely wreck groups of 12 or 15, in some cases 20. We'd roll up and it would just seem like we'd kill 2 guys with coordination instantly, and everyone else would run because they would think, oh my gosh, there's like 20 guys attacking us. But we were just really coordinated, and yeah, the power of that is massive. I realize now that I've been recording, so I'm still recording that last game, so let me sign off on this. Thank you very much for watching. That was game, I believe, what was it, 10? Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and come follow me on Twitch. I also hope you like the WoW discussion and other MMOs discussion. So, anyway, see you soon for another game.